the soul that each human has is everlasting life. So when you hear people talk of everlasting life, they think that you have to be like a born again Christian and your soul then goes wherever. It's not like that. Your soul has been around since creation. Creation was billions of years ago. Humans have walked the earth for 250,000 years. Now, where has your soul been from creation until humans decided to walk the earth? Well, the answer is
I'm here with my friend Barry Strom. He was born in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and attended Lehigh University. He received a business management degree and became a licensed civil engineer. Throughout his working career, he was employed in construction and the stone quarry industry. A non believer until the age of 60, he realized that he possessed a rare gift to communicate with spirits. He is now the author of 10 books dealing with the afterlife and host of 3 podcasts and a radio show. Barry, that is an impressive resume, I would say. That is amazing. Thank you. Let me first thank you for joining me today, for being my guest, to coming on here and spend some time with me today.
oh, it's an honor. When I saw the email, I knew right away that part of what we needed to do was come talk with you today.
Oh, that means so much to me. Really, like, I love that. Thank you. And it's just a blessing for me to have you. And tell me a little bit, let's start in the beginning, how this started for you. How did you start channeling these beings?
Well, yeah, it's a fairly long story. I I really didn't. I didn't even believe in ghosts until I was like 60 years old, and I'll be 82 in August. So it's even that's a long time ago at this point. But I bought. I worked in the construction stone quarry industry. I was actually CEO of several companies and was pretty busy throughout my life. Uh, we always were spiritual. I always had problems with some of the writings in the Gospels. There were things I couldn't believe, like Adam and Eve or Noah. I, I just thought there were so many fallacies. So I really wasn't with it, with the, shall we call it the God thing, through all those years. But I tried to lead a decent life, and I tried to do the good things and help people. And finally, I got out of the stone business, and my wife and I did different things. We did animal photography for a while, and just basically tried to live a happy life, I guess is the best way to describe it. But in my wanderings, when I was in the stone business, I bought this huge warehouse up in Pennsylvania, and we converted it to an antique gallery. Now we did it, and I never owned an antique. I had another partner. I wanted to do it, and I said, "Okay, we'll do it. I'll buy it, and you run it." But I don't want anything to do with it because I'm just too busy with the other stuff. Long story short, he got tired of it, and I wound up having to buy him out. So now I've got an antique gallery and don't know anything about antiques. And the economy changes, and all of a sudden I realize that we have to spend more time back here, or it's going to be a disaster. People that work for me were speaking about all these ghosts that were in the store. Well, I thought they were drinking on the job or smoking the wrong stuff or something. So finally, I started spending some time there. And yeah, there's weird stuff happening in the store. So I brought a professional team in to do an investigation. And I was introduced to a psychic that was with the team. And I always thought they were, you know, I almost said a bad word, but the, she was very, very good. And we were doing the investigation. We were sitting there, and she says, "There's a child here. It's a girl. Her name's Clarissa, and she wants to show you her doll, her pink doll." I go, "You got to be nuts." You know, We're sitting here in the dark, and she's telling me that this ghost wants to lead me to this doll. So I said, okay, let's go find a doll. Now, bear in mind, this is a 30,000 square foot store. It's a big store. And we started in the dark, heading down the aisle. And I said, okay, do we turn here? Psychic says no. Next aisle, do we turn here? Psychic says no. I'm almost in the out of the store. We got one more aisle. I said, okay, do we turn here? And she says, yes. We turn down the aisle, and all of a sudden the psychic loses contact. I said, okay. So that was crazy, but it was probably BS, you know. So about a half an hour later, we're turning the light. They want to take a break. So I'm turning the lights on, and I come back the aisleway from the different direction with the lights on. And right where we lost contact with the ghost, there was a pink doll in the display case. She had led us probably for 100 feet through the store with 3 commands, and indeed took me to her pink doll, which I purchased, and I happen to have back here behind me. I still have it with me. And every once in a while, we'll be doing a podcast, and somebody will say the doll just moved. So it's still on the active side back there. So now I'm really kind of hooked on this thing. So my store was about 8 miles from the Gettysburg battlefield. And I was raised in Hershey, and Hershey's fairly close to Gettysburg. And as a kid, all I wanted to do was go out and go to the battlefield, which was weird. So I started going out and taking pictures at night. And I was always interested in cameras and stuff. So I really got into this. And I'm getting amazing pictures on the battlefield. I have pictures of soldiers. I have pictures of fairies. Now, when you're in charge of construction companies, you don't talk about fairies. But I have probably 50 pictures of fairies that I took out on the battlefield now. I have an angel. I have a picture of an angel picking a soldier off the battlefield. You can see it. It's got in its hands, it has this body of a soldier that it's lifting off the field. So my friends start seeing these photos and they say, you ought to write a book. I can't write a book. I can't write. When I was in college, I avoided every writing course, every English course. I'm totally incapable of writing. But now I have 10 books that I'm the author of. So I've published about 220 ghost pictures from the battlefield, my first book. So now I'm really hooked. So now another side story, because now you got to teach you how I learned to channel. So we had used ghost boxes, which, they set the background noise and you can hear the EVPs. I did all that. We have some great ones from the store. And that was how I learned that you could communicate with them were through the EVP things. So our home was really in Park City, Utah, and my store is back in Pennsylvania. So my wife would spend a lot of time back home, and I'd be doing the business thing. So she's called to jury duty, and she goes in and she's sitting next to this woman, and they become friends. So we get together with them when I'm home and go out to dinner. And one night, Connie breaks down and starts telling them about some of the things that I'm doing back in Pennsylvania. So the woman says, well, then I guess I can tell you about the fact that my parents were psychics and I'm a psychic, and we do board channeling and speak to the spirits. So they had arranged to go through all these things that my wife gets introduced to people that are doing channelings and speaking to spirits using a specially designed channeling board. So the next time I'm out in Salt Lake, they invite me to go down to one of their sessions to hear it. So I go in, and the two of them, they sit down on each side of this special board. And the first message that they spell out is, hello, Barry, we've been waiting for you. I'm going, so over 2,000 miles, all this gets arranged that I'm really hooked. Okay. So I get this. So they start to teach us how to use the channeling board. And if you go onto my YouTube channel, you can see some of the old videos where Connie and I are actually getting all of our messages using their special boards. So when we get back to Pennsylvania, we start practicing, and I develop a pretty good skill using the channeling board. We're spelling letters out and spelling the words. Well, I start to realize that when it hits the first letter, I'm hearing the words in my head. So one day the guides say, you don't need the channeling board, just speak what you hear. And that's how I got involved, just speaking the words. But it was all arranged. We had to go 2,000 miles to meet the people to teach me how to do board channeling. And then we worked with them for a couple of years, and now I do what I do.
That's amazing. So you have a lot of communication with spiritual beings, with aliens. What are there outside forces that are working towards bringing humanity love and light and helping us to live better lives? And how do they do that?
Well, every day. But you have to understand this. When a soul, reincarnation is absolute. I can probably tell you 20 of my prior lives. And I'm going to give you a little more background. This one's going to shake some people up. The soul that each human has is everlasting life. So when you hear people talk of everlasting life, they think that you have to be like a born again Christian, and your soul then goes wherever. It's not like that. Your soul has been around since creation. Creation was billions of years ago. Humans have walked the earth for 250,000 years. Now, where has your soul been from creation until humans decided to walk the earth? Well, the answer is your soul was on other planets and lived you reincarnated on these other planets, and you've lived. You've learned lessons, and how those lessons determine what level you are in heaven. So the good and evil has been around since creation, as has your soul.
So we've actually been the aliens.
Thousands of times. I
Uh,
can I can I can channel aliens for a reason, because all the aliens have the same soul energy that we have. So it's no different for me to channel a dead alien soul or a human soul, because it's the same energies. And that's why I can channel with aliens or humans. And we actually channeled with an alien for about 3 years. And as a result, I wrote 2 books about aliens. So I've got 2 books up on Amazon, and you can read them, and it tells you the truth about the alien situation.
Are the aliens like actual physical beings? Or are they interdimensional beings? Or,
They're interdimensional.
okay.
Yeah, just the same as Bigfoot is intradimensional. That's why they always disappear, because they simply can go through that dimension, same as an alien can.
Are they all right here? Like all the dimensions, are they all right here? Or are they like on the other side of a galaxy? Or how does that work?
No, they're all here. Everything is here. Heaven is simply another dimension. Humans are only familiar with 3 dimensions. But when you die and you talk to people with an NDE, usually they talk about looking down at their bodies. Well, they're on the other side of that dimension veil of death now. God only allows humans basically to see 3 dimensions. But there are many, many other dimensions. Just the same as there's an intergalactic dimension that the soul energies can travel. So when you're on the other side, and if you're in the upper, one of the upper realms, now they don't, there's 7 realms in heaven. And through your life plans, you learn lessons which allow you to advance. So God's in the 7th level. So as you try to advance to the 7th level, you learn, you live all of these lives and you learn all of these lessons. So it's when you pass, you just simply move into that dimension. But when you're on the other side, now you have the ability to return. And that's why loved ones can return and be with you. You don't see them because they're on the other side of the dimension. But the energy can be right there and you can feel their energies and they can do amazing things. They can leave you messages. Or my father, who's been gone for over 50 years now, leaves me pennies when he has a message. So we'll see a penny in some bizarre place and we'll go, "Oh, hi, Dad. What do you want?" And then we can talk to him. So it's it's very complicated, to say the least. And the big message that we're always getting is that the more you know, the more that you think you know, but it's the more that you really don't know because there's so much out there to learn. Humans, we were we were actually channeling one of our alien buddies on one of our radio shows last week. And I asked the question, on a 10 scale, where would you rank humans in their knowledge of the universe? And he gave humans a 2 on a 10 scale. So that's how little we know at this point.
Yeah, there is so much more to know than I think we could even comprehend if we were presented the information. Our
Oh, they tell me that all the time. I'll ask him a question and say, "You can't understand that."
Yeah, yeah, that makes
It,
so much sense.
yeah.
We're so finite, we're, like you said, three-dimensional, and so we're limited in these human experiences. But I think that's part of the human experience as well. That's part of why we decided to have this experience for its limitations.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, humans are a very young culture. 250,000 years. When you compare that as a percentage wise of creation, it's incredibly small. So they look at us as a very uncivilized culture, which we are. We haven't learned to get along yet. And will humans make it? Many cultures don't. As they gain their technologies, that's the big test. And we're at that hurdle right now. We've been given technologies that can totally wipe out all humanity. And that's a free will choice. Because when I mean, we do a podcast on Wednesday mornings called A Weekly Message from Jesus, where we actually channel the messages of our Lord. He comes in, gives us about a 20-minute message every week. But he states repeatedly that he will never destroy humans, that he loves humans. There's a spark of his energy in every human, even the ones that that hate God. But he loves every human, so he would never ever destroy them. That's, I mean, there are religions that believe in things like rapture and all that stuff. But he says it's totally illogical. Why would I destroy a race that I put so much time into? I would never do it. But humans have free will, and if they choose to destroy themselves, then so be it. I'll try to guide them away from it. We'll do everything we can to speak to their souls to lead them. But if the time comes that humans decide they want to destroy all of humanity, that's their choice.
is there a galactic federation that watches over us?
Yes, absolutely. They control all the aliens that are around us. And there are aliens all around us and living with us, shapeshifters.
How can we, well, let me first ask about the Galactic Federation. Are they like an army out there surrounding the earth, or how does that work?
No, no. The aliens come to Earth. I liken it to us going to a zoo to watch the animals. The aliens come here to watch humans. Same way. It's a learning experience for them. They get a big laugh once in a while. I asked them. I said, "Why do you do crop circles?" And the answer was, "We like to mess with humans." So it's they got a good sense of humor. It's
Oh my goodness. So how has this changed the way that you look at life, that the way that you view who you truly are and who we all really truly are?
well, everyone is God's creation. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about that. Uh, Look at the miracle of a newborn baby. You take two cells and create billions from it. I mean, as he said, you humans think you're so smart. Go do something like that on your own. Then you understand just how big a miracle a baby is. So it's how's it changed me? Incredibly. I have no fear of death because to the spirits, death is the beginning of a life cycle. To humans, it's the end. But as soon as you pass from this human body, you begin preparing for your next reincarnation. So death is really a birth to those on the other side. Now, to everyone left behind, it's the grief, but that grief is a learning lesson that humans have to learn and to master. That's why he sets it off as basically life is a generational thing. You have every child has parents, and the odds are very good that you will see your parents pass. You have to be able to deal with death, but once you understand it, then it's really not something to fear. It's not something you ever want to rush because a suicide is never, ever in a life plan because you're cutting a life plan short. If if you take your own life, you have to return and learn the lessons you didn't learn. So it's a bad deal. If you commit suicide, you have to watch the grief that you cause by all that you've left behind. And that's one of the real penalties of your soul, of a person taking their own life, is that they have to watch all the grief they create. We channeled with Robin Williams, and he couldn't believe the grief that he caused by taking his own life. He had a very bad diagnosis, and had dementia and Parkinson's, and he just thought that he was helping his family by taking his own life, so they didn't have to care for him. But he created grief for millions and millions of people, and he really didn't realize that. And that was, as he watched from the other side, that was the worst part of what was taking place for him.
And you know what? That's is so interesting is the movie What Dreams May Come, where he is the main character, is similar to that, where
Mhm.
he's watching his wife's grief and
They
trying to
tried,
heal her.
they tried, they tried to send him a message not to take his own life when he made
Yeah.
that.
Wow.
There, there are no coincidences.
So, how does it work when you're channeling? Are they speaking directly through you? Do they come into your body and take over?
Come in and take over.
Okay. Would you want to do a little channeling for my viewers right now? Is
Sure,
that possible?
no problem. Who do you want to speak to?
Is Fred available?
Who?
Fred, the
Uh,
alien?
oh, yeah, we can talk to Fred.
Or whoever, if there's someone that wants to come through that has a message, whoever would like to come through.
I was hearing Gabriel's name,
Okay.
the Archangel.
All right. That sounds good.
I would like to say hello to everyone. I know many of you out there do not believe that you can actually hear the words of an angel, but angels are all around you. You just cannot see them. Sometimes we decide that we will come to you in human form, and you never realize that you are speaking with an angel. You see, you are all God's creatures, and God has the angels to help watch out for you, to help preserve your lives, to help you live a life that you know will lead to a proper understanding that will guide you when you come back into the realms of heaven. Angels have never lived human lives, so we look at things much differently. As the human energies have been around since creation, so have angels. And we have tried to guide all of the great cultures of the galaxy through those millions of years. So angels can be a great help. Angels can help you try to live your life plan to the greatest. They can help you make good decisions, but you have to ask. You see, the greatest gift that God has given you is the ability to pray. And when you pray, every word is heard. And when you ask for us, we try to respond. But if you don't ask, we will not respond. Sadly, it is like that. So the greatest thing that you can do is understand the heavenly presence and to respond by asking for guidance through prayer. So I thought that you might want to hear a few words today. So I was here with Barry, and I hope that these few words will act as guidance for you. So thank you for asking, and goodbye.
Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye.
Hmm.
Well, that was a beautiful and powerful message.
Yes, they all are.
Do we all have guardian angels watching over us?
Well, that's an interesting subject. Quite often, interactions that are saving your lives or giving you guidance are members of your human soul family. For instance, my wife was getting ready to pull out of an intersection. We had our two daughters in the car, and she hears the word stop, wait. And this car comes by and would have T-boned her if she'd pulled out. And turned out that was my father talking to her. I'll give you another example. And this one is really going to catch you off guard. My last prior life is I was a Confederate soldier that fought in the Civil War. And in that life, I fought at Gettysburg. And that's why I was drawn to the battlefield. So one night I'm out walking on the battlefield, and there was always this area over in what they call Culp's Hill where I would photograph great activity. So one night I'm walking out and I'm by myself. It's pitch dark and I'm taking pictures. I start down this wooded trail, and in my head I hear, don't go. And I stop. I turn, and I've learned at this point, my education was enough that I understood, listen to what you hear. I turned, walked about 50 feet, and this big tree falls right on the trail where I would have been. I had been out there at night by myself, crushed under this tree. And it was all because of this voice that I heard in my head that saved my life. So we were using a channeling board there, and at that time, and I was, partially mental and partially using the board. So when I got back, I asked the guides, I said, who saved my life out there? And the answer comes back, the boys. I said, what do you mean the boys? It was the soldiers that I had fought with out of that spot that are still there fighting. And they're the ones that recognized me and saved my life. So there's a guardian angel concept, but it turns out that it's souls that I fought with 150 years earlier on the battlefield. And then once I knew what the story was, I could go out on the battlefield and I can actually talk with the soldiers that I fought with in the Civil War.
Do they recognize you?
Absolutely. It's amazing. I took 3 or 4 people out with me one day with a ghost box, walked up to the spot, and I said, "You guys recognize me?" And everybody over the ghost box hears, "Yes, sir, Captain." And then I talked with them and I asked them, I said, "Why are you guys still here? Why don't you move on?" And the answer was, "Because those damn Yankees are still here. They're not going to leave until the Yankees leave." So I think it's the angels that help them move on.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is there a way that we can help people move on if
No,
we no?
no, I've been very unsuccessful. I've talked to spirits that don't even know they're dead. There's a channel of the unknowing dead. And even though they see all this bizarre stuff going on around them, they still do not realize that they're on the other side. I mean, there are people that claim they can help move, but I like on the battlefield. It's the angels that help them. I think there's a time. So there's no time in heaven, so there's no rush for them to move on. So, and I have that photograph of an angel lifting a soldier off the battlefield. So I think that's how they move them on.
Do you believe that, or do you get a sense from the channeling messages, the aliens, the spiritual people that you channel or you communicate with, of oneness, that all is one?
Okay, here's how that works. Everyone has a spark of God's energy in them. So, in that sense, we are all one, but we are all unique individuals. We come back with a life plan that gives you a lesson to help you advance in the realms of heaven so that you become one with God. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
That's the way it works.
Are your gifts something that anyone can develop if they practice or work on them?
Everyone has basic psychic abilities when they're born. As you grow up, you turn them off. Some people are more gifted. A lot of people are afraid of it once they understand. It's scary seeing spirits. Like I have spirits wake me up at night. 2 nights ago, I'm sound asleep, and one of them yells my name, Barry, and I woke right up out of a sound sleep because of it. So once they know you can communicate with them, they want to communicate because they don't have the ability to do it. So they know an individual that is capable of passing on messages. So a lot of them want to, you know, that's one reason why I can talk with basically any soul that I want to talk to. I mean, we did our radio show with 3 Supreme Court justices. We had Scalia, Ginsburg, and O'Connor on, and I would ask legal questions to them, and then all 3 of them would do a roundtable discussion on those questions. But but they all want to be able to speak. They know they can come to you in dreams, they can tell you things, but it's all very difficult. But the opportunity for them to come through and have me speak their exact words, it's a phenomenal rarity for them, even on the other side.
Are you like a spotlight over there, a big shining bright light saying, I can hear you?
It's kind of like a big kick me sign, I think.
You have a really beautiful book behind you called Channeling the Life of Jesus. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, we had, I got to lay a little background into this. When we started channeling, you 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 you're really feeling your way along. In the beginning, you can't see the spirits, you're feeling different energies, and you're really trying to sort things out. So one evening, and we had a session where Mary had come in, and her energy was absolutely beyond belief. So one night, Connie and I had the channeling board, and in comes the spirit of Jesus. Now we had spirits before try to tell us they were Jesus, but they were faking. And we could sort that out. But all of a sudden, this new energy comes in, and I'm going, no, I can't believe this. It's there's no reason, there's no way that God would ever come through and really speak with me, of all people. Well, the fact that you don't understand is that he's everywhere. So just because he's here speaking with me, he can be speaking to 2 million other people at the same time, because that's the universality of God's energy. So, yes, it's very unique that you actually know this is taking place, but I simply refuse to believe it. So he comes through and he says, look, I know you have doubts and I understand. So I'm going to give you the ability to heal. And here's a special prayer. And he spells out this prayer for me. He says, when you say this prayer, you will be able to heal others. I'm going, yeah, right. I'm a stone guy, I break rocks. So it isn't going to work like that. So he said, here's a name, go heal. I said, well, who is it? I never heard this name before. You will find out. So I was speaking at a convention out in Salt Lake, and I go in and find out that that name of that woman is the person in charge of the convention. I went up. I said, "This is going to seem a little weird, but you got to have a physical problem." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Do you care if I say a prayer and try to heal it for you?" She says, "No, take a shot." So I said the prayer, and she lived quite. That was like 8 years ago, and she just died about 6 months ago. So I'll take credit, but So there's another woman sitting there at the table, and she says, "I have these. I overhear she's got migraines." She said, "I have chronic migraines, and I mean, I can hardly work." And she was sitting there, and I hear in my head, "Go heal her." So I go over and I said, "Do you care if I say a prayer and try to heal your migraine?" She said, "Do anything you want." I said the prayer. Within an hour, the migraine was gone. She was feeling perfectly, and she hasn't had one for 8 years. So now I know. Now I know. Yeah, that really was Jesus, for goodness sake. So now our whole relationship has changed, because now I'm totally bought in. So he would come in and he would say, he would set me up to write books, and like, I can't write. I am in college, I avoided every English course. In high school, my English courses brought my grades down. I mean, I literally can't do it. So they said, we're going to give you a writing guide and he will assist you. And you're going to write 11 books in your lifetime yet. And I mean, I was like 70 then. I said, you can't do that. I mean, I can't, first of all, I can't write. And second of all, I'm too old to write that many books. And the answer comes back, yes, you are an old F. A. I'm not saying it, but you will write those books. Well, I've written 10 now and I've got 11 roughed out. So it's when they tell you something, it's going to take place. And the writing guides, every book would change subject matter, because every book was a learning experience for me. When I wrote the alien books, I learned all about aliens and so forth. So every book, I'd have a different writing guide, because I'm writing different things. One book, I had St. Augustine as my writing guide. One book, I had a guy named Sterling that had graduated from Penn State. He was helped me write the first book. I mean, they will arrange for whatever you're supposed to be doing on your life plan.
What is one of the or some of the messages that Jesus has given you for Earth?
Right now on my YouTube channel, I have 600 videos. I think we got around 180 of his messages. So he's given plenty. And he keeps saying humans have got to learn to coexist, to love, love one another. One of the biggest ones that he keeps talking about are people that are blessed with great wealth that don't help others. When they do, if he does not want you living in poverty, he doesn't want you beating yourself on your back. He wants you to live a normal life and help other people. You got to live a normal life if you're going to help other people. But he's really upset about all these people with all these billions of dollars that do nothing for others. And what you do if you're in that position, you're creating a negative karma for your next life. If he has blessed you with a life of great wealth in this life and you don't use it to help others, your karma will be a life of poverty in the next life that you live. And that's why, essentially, until you've learned to follow God's words, there will always be poverty because it's all these people that have created these negative karmas.
I feel like in the 70s, possibly the 60s, we really started to awaken as a society. And that's been 60, 50, or 60 years by now. Do you feel like as we approach the 2020s, that there's been an acceleration of spiritual awakenings, and that's why we are seeing more things like channeling, near death, more near death experiences, people having lucid dreams or out of body experiences? Is there a reason?
No, no, there is a very good reason because of the growth of evil in the world. So he is doing many things. He's sending people back to bring his words. I was sent back specifically to do this. This is what is in my life plan. He's sending others back as well. It's just he's given me some unique gifts that he doesn't give other people. But he sent great people back. Billy Graham, Mother Teresa. I mean, there were some wonderful spirits through that time frame. But essentially, nothing's changed for 2,000 years. The Romans, they believed in multiple gods. They resented the fact that Jesus was speaking the words of a single deity. They were incredibly violent people. Today, you've got the same thing. Look what Russia's doing to the Ukraine. They're treating them basically the same as the Romans treated the people. So in many respects, nothing's changed. Technology has allowed evil energies to expand because now people that want to do harm can reach millions of people. At least when Jesus walked the earth, he's speaking to small crowds. Today, we're speaking to millions.
Do you think technology is kind of like double-edged sword where there is a lot of negative that can be spread, but also a lot of positivity, like what you and I are doing right now, or your podcast? Um, there's a lot of positive messages that we can get out to many people at once.
Yeah, but all you have to do, there are so many people that resent if you mention the word God. I mean, I've been on major radio shows as a guest, and they've cut my appearance short because I start to speak about God. So a lot of the people that control the media are very negative towards any type of spirituality or God or anything else.
Mm.
So it's very difficult for us to be able to reach people. And there's many people that don't want to hear it. They're so tied up in their lives and raising children and being kicked in the butt by inflation and that they're busy and they don't put together the fact that at least they can find spiritual happiness while they're fighting their challenges. And the spiritual information and happiness they get can help them solve many of their problems.
I found near death experiences because I went through a great life trauma, and that was the catalyst for my healing journey. How does what you do, how can that fit into helping others heal from either grief or if they're facing death, or even if they've had a spiritual experience or a near-death experience that they can't understand.
That's a single event. So it's very difficult for somebody to understand a single event. I've spent over 1,000 hours speaking to spirits. I've speak to so many historical spirits that I'm having trouble thinking of something to put onto the radio show, channeling history. I mean, we've been doing it for almost 4 years. I'm running out of ideas. I mean, the last show we did, we had George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, and Thomas Jefferson on, and we asked them all the same questions on what they would do today to cure many of the problems that we have, and their ideas were fantastic. I mean, they laid it out, and if you did exactly what they said, we could cure whether the problems of our government. I mean, they talk about term limits. They talk about people having to be educated, and all three of them were convinced that the only way that you can cure our political system is for the government to give a political candidate the money that they need to run, and everybody gets the same amount. So you take away the influence of the attorneys, the lobbyists, foreign money by the government funding all of the elections and limiting the amount of money they can spend. I mean, the show is incredible. The ideas that these three put out on Sunday night for us on channeling history.
Yeah, that sounds very fascinating.
It was even for me, because I learned something every time we do these shows.
Definitely. So, what message do you have for people who have um, experienced loss? Do you have comforting words?
Everybody experiences loss. Loss is part of everyone's life plan. That's why you have parents that are older than you. You have grandparents that are older, and generally you experience the loss of all these people. But you have to have faith that those souls are going to a far better place. Those souls will still be with you. All they are in another dimension. What I do is proof that these souls exist close to that dimension. I can bring the souls in and have you get messages. And by knowing that your soul is not going to die, imagine an atheist that thinks that when they die, it's all over. And they fear that death because they think that's the end of it. So they are really shocked when the lights come on, when they close their eyes and all of a sudden they see this. I mean, we channel many atheists, and we always ask them what was it like when they died. When Steve Jobs died, his final words were, "Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow," in his passing. And we asked him what he saw, and he told us. And it's if you know the truth, then you can basically face anything. It's only, I mean, many people are told, the church tells many people that if you don't go to church every Sunday, do what the church tells them, pay your 10%, you're going to hell. And that's fear. Jesus never taught fear, never spoke of any of that information. Actually, Jesus never even mentioned hell because it doesn't exist. But if you understand the realities of what your soul faces, then you can use that as a foundation to build on. And you're not going to find instantaneous relief. But once you truly believe in all of this, and you can tell I do, because I doubt there's many people around have done what I've done. So I know, I have no doubts. I have no fear of death. I have stuff I got to do yet, even though I'm getting up in years. But when the time comes, I'm okay with it. I mean, I've still got, I mean, my wife would be really upset because I haven't done our taxes yet, but you know, so there's little things like that, but you gotta get over it. But faith is a foundation. Without faith, you cannot build a house needs a strong foundation or the walls crack. Your faith is your foundation. Once you become totally convinced of what really takes place, then your life just makes this change for the better. Actually, it becomes as you truly believe, then your life becomes so much better. I mean, I've done 600 videos now on YouTube. That's a lot of videos, and everyone's different, and everyone is speaking with spirit, and everyone is saying the same thing from many different angles, but it's always the same message. And once you hear the same message for that many years and that many times, you have no doubts.
You mentioned asking atheists about what they see when they cross over. Do you find that their beliefs in their physical life color their dying experience?
Yeah, sure, because they're more shocked by it. I, I mean, I know what I'm going to see when my time comes, so it's not going to shock me. But you can imagine, because when they go over, they realize I wasted all these things during my incarnate life. I believed I lived in fear of this, and now there's nothing to fear. I mean, I feared death. I did everything to avoid it. And then all of a sudden they find out that it's simply a rebirth. So, I mean, they realize that they've wasted their lives. One of the worst things that an atheist can do is turn other people away from God. So many of them speak against God, and there's where they get in trouble. That's where I mean, it takes many, many lifetimes to advance, and the advancements become much more difficult to the upper levels. To get into the seventh levels and be close to God, it's very, very difficult. I mean, there have been masters that have been sent back, and that they, because of their egos, their desires for wealth, they hurt people. Hitler's an example. He was an advanced soul sent back to save Germany, and his ego takes over, and he winds up killing all these folks. He went from the upper level to the lowest level in one lifetime. So he took away the benefits of what, 10,000 lives in a single life. So that's what you have to fear, because he didn't believe in God, even though he had gone through all these lives serving God. That's the reason why you have no memory of all this when you come in as a baby, as a newborn, because you must learn each lesson. And each lesson that you learn leads you, hopefully, to your life plan.
What are some of the things that people see when they cross over?
Generally, they'll see what they expect. That's one of the wonderful things of that dimension. Mostly, they will see family members. There will always be an angel present. Azrael is the angel of passing, and he and his angels are one of them. Sometimes he'll be there, or you'll see some of his angels. But there'll always be an angel to help you, because all of a sudden it's a shock to many people. I mean, just think about. I mean, here's Steve Jobs, who has everything, and what's his final words? He's going, "Oh my goodness, look at this!" Pretty good stuff.
And you have a multitude of resources available to people. How can they find you if they wanted to purchase your books or watch your podcasts or your radio show?
Well, all the books are up on Amazon. So you just put my name in and search it's STROHM, and they'll all come up. They'll all be there. Um, I have a website. It's called barrystrome.com, and you can go there. And if you buy a book through the website, you get a little message and a signature out of it for whatever that's worth. Uh, YouTube has everything. We put everything up on YouTube eventually. Um, the podcasts, they're, all the platforms, Spotify, Apple. So you can catch all. We have 3 podcasts and a radio show that we do. Sundays we do a radio show on Para X called Channeling History, and then Sunday mornings we do Sunday sermon. This week on Sunday sermon, we will be getting a message from Mary, Mother of Jesus. And then on Easter Sunday, Jesus himself will give us a channeled message live. Wednesdays, we do the weekly message from Jesus, and we've got like 180 of them up now. And he just comes in with these wonderful messages. They're different every week. I mean, I'll sit and I have no idea what on any of this stuff what I'm going to say, and I'll just sit down and you'll come and away we go. And sometimes my voice changes. Um, I've done when we did a show with Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, and he had me do the whole show with an Indian accent. We channeled Billy the Kid, and he had me do it with a Western accent. And I never know because they're simply coming in, and I am speaking the words of the Spirit.
And I'll make sure to link everything down below in the video description. So if anyone wants to find you, they can easily just click on that link.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that part.
Do you have any last words of wisdom for my viewers?
My words of wisdom would be that you need to learn to live a life without fear. Fear destroys lives, has you make bad decisions. But if you truly understand God, then you will live without fear. You may fear that you can't support your family or the politicians are terrible, but you will learn to understand that there's something that you can do about every situation. No situation is ever as dire as it appears. If you seek help through prayer, your words will be heard. You may have a life plan that requires suffering, but you will learn to accept that and understand it. And if you will learn to accept guidance that will be brought to you if you ask for it. If you do not ask for guidance through prayer, you will not receive it. If you live a good life, love others, learn to coexist, do all of the things that are common sense to lead to happiness, then all will simply be well for the person.
I love that. Thank you so much, Barry, for being my guest, taking the time out of your life to come on here and share your wisdom, your messages, your channeled messages with me and my viewers.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it. And I truly hope that the words can help bring some peace to somebody out there.
Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near-death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people, and that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.